A massive, coordinated attack on Kyiv by Russian forces has resulted in at least 21 civilian deaths, marking one of the deadliest nights in the ongoing war. This escalation raises urgent questions about the future of the conflict and the fate of its most vulnerable victims. The aftermath of this devastating attack on Ukrainian territory is likely to unfold in several consequential ways. Ukrainian leaders, including President Zelensky, will undoubtedly intensify their calls for increased military aid, urging Western allies to expedite and expand support to counter Russia's aggression effectively. The ongoing conflict, which has already claimed thousands of lives and displaced millions, underscores the urgency of this plea. In response to this provocation, Ukraine may also escalate its military actions, launching more aggressive counterattacks on Russian territory, particularly focusing on military infrastructure and command centers. This escalation could lead to a dangerous cycle of retaliatory strikes, further destabilizing the region and increasing the risk of broader conflict. The diplomatic fallout from this attack could further strain U.S.-Russia relations, as the United States continues to advocate for peace while Russia escalates violence. The geopolitical landscape is shifting, with NATO nations reevaluating their defense strategies in light of the renewed aggression. Additionally, the humanitarian crisis in Ukraine is expected to deepen, with more residential areas destroyed and an increase in civilian displacement and injuries, necessitating an urgent international humanitarian response. Aid organizations are already warning of a looming catastrophe, highlighting the need for immediate assistance to affected populations. As global attention shifts back to the war, this attack serves as a stark reminder of the conflict's severity, compelling the international community to reassess its priorities. The stakes are higher than ever, and one pressing question remains. Will the West finally deliver the weapons Ukraine needs to stop this cycle of violence? The coming weeks will be critical, determining not only the immediate response to this aggression, but also the long-term trajectory of the conflict and Ukraine's fight for sovereignty. To understand this escalation, we must look at the historical context leading up to today's events. Russia's invasion strategy has been marred by failure, as initial expectations of a swift victory have given way to a protracted conflict characterized by brutal tactics intended to dismantle Ukrainian resistance. Over the past several months, Ukrainian intelligence had detected preparations for a large-scale attack, leading President Zelensky to issue repeated public warnings about the imminent threat of a massive Russian strike. Compounding these tensions are delays in Western military aid, which have left Ukraine vulnerable to Russia's drone and missile campaigns. Despite significant support from the US and the European Union, the speed of military deliveries has not matched the escalation of Russian aggression. Meanwhile, Russia's apparent disregard for ongoing diplomatic efforts, despite multiple peace talks involving various international mediators, illustrates its commitment to maintaining offensive operations. The impact of these developments has been devastating for Ukraine, resulting in increasing civilian casualties and widespread destruction of infrastructure. The war has also strained global food supplies, as Ukraine is a key exporter of grain. As nations struggle with rising prices and food insecurity, the consequences of this conflict extend far beyond Eastern Europe. Looking ahead, the outlook remains uncertain. Russia appears determined to press its advantage while Ukraine seeks to bolster its defenses with continued international support. The upcoming months will be crucial as both sides prepare for potentially intensified confrontations. The international community faces a critical juncture in determining how to respond to this aggression and support Ukraine effectively. With the stakes higher than ever, a renewed commitment to diplomatic solutions alongside military assistance may be essential in steering the region toward a more stable future. This attack holds significant consequences for several reasons. First and foremost, civilians are the primary victims of this war, with the ongoing conflict now estimated to have cost Russia approximately 450,000 lives, including a disturbing increase in civilian casualties. The latest assault on Kyiv marks one of the worst single-night incidents in recent months, intensifying the humanitarian crisis. The attack not only resulted in substantial loss of life, but also left critical infrastructure in ruins, exacerbating the already dire living conditions for many Ukrainians. Hospitals, schools, and residential areas were severely damaged, leaving communities grappling with the aftermath of destruction. Furthermore, the diplomatic momentum surrounding the conflict is collapsing. Despite ongoing peace talks and international pressure, this attack illustrates that Russia has chosen to disregard diplomatic efforts entirely. The Kremlin's actions stand in stark contrast to the aspirations for peace, revealing a troubling commitment to military escalation. As a direct result, Ukraine is now urgently calling for increased military support from its Western allies. President Zelensky has highlighted that the current pace of military aid is insufficient to counteract Russia's growing aggression, emphasizing the pressing need for advanced weaponry and strategic support. The urgency of this plea underscores the precariousness of Ukraine's situation. Moreover, this attack represents a critical turning point in the narrative of the war. Over 4 years since Russia's full-scale invasion began, the reality remains that the conflict is not winding down. Rather, it is intensifying, with Russia exhibiting an alarming willingness to target civilian centers, which poses severe ethical concerns. This situation challenges the stability of the region and raises pressing questions about international security and humanitarian responsibilities. The implications extend beyond Ukraine, as neighboring countries are increasingly on high alert, fearing spillover effects that could destabilize the entire region. Looking ahead, Western nations face a pivotal decision: to bolster Ukraine's defenses decisively or risk emboldening Russian aggression further. The stakes have never been higher, and the future of regional security hangs in the balance, with the possibility of deeper military involvement looming ominously on the horizon. In the early hours of Thursday, July 2nd, 2026, Russian forces unleashed a deadly wave of drone and missile strikes targeting the heart of Kyiv. The assault began shortly after midnight, with explosions rocking the city as residents were still asleep. Initial reports confirmed that at least 21 civilians lost their lives, with some sources suggesting that up to 17 deaths occurred in Kyiv alone. The strikes severely damaged multiple residential buildings, igniting fires and scattering debris across various districts. One particularly damaging strike hit a central hotel, causing chaos as debris rained down in 2 major areas of the city. This assault was executed despite Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's warnings earlier that day, where he indicated that Russian forces were preparing a significant attack. The scale of this coordinated strike was unprecedented, involving hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles, representing a strategic shift aimed at maximizing civilian casualties and inflicting severe infrastructure damage. This attack underscores the brutal nature of the ongoing conflict, which has persisted since 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea. Analysts suggest that this operation reflects a calculated move by Russia to demoralize the Ukrainian population and disrupt essential services. The attack comes amidst ongoing tensions in the region, with diplomatic efforts to establish a ceasefire failing repeatedly. This marks a shocking escalation in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, which has already claimed countless lives and devastated communities. The humanitarian implications are dire, as civilians face increased danger and displacement. Hospitals are overwhelmed with casualties, and emergency responders struggle to reach affected areas due to ongoing threats. The psychological impact on the population is profound, with fear and uncertainty permeating daily life. Looking ahead, the international community is likely to respond with renewed sanctions against Russia, aiming to curb its military ambitions. NATO allies may also ramp up military support for Ukraine, further complicating the conflict. As the situation evolves, the potential for a broader regional conflict looms large, raising alarms among global leaders. The Ukrainian government is expected to intensify its defensive strategies in response to this latest assault, determined to protect its sovereignty and its people from further aggression. In the coming weeks, the resilience of the Ukrainian spirit will be tested as they navigate this precarious landscape. As we reflect on these developments, the question remains: will the West finally deliver the weapons Ukraine needs to stop this cycle of violence? Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for daily deep dives into the most pressing global issues.